On today's show, we've got a game day preview. The Ottawa Senators back in Tampa to take on the Lightning.
We'll take a look at what adjustments they should make for this rematch of Tuesday's game. And is 11-7 a realistic possibility for the Sens tonight?
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller down in the Sunshine State. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Today is Thursday, February 6th, and Pilsy, no excuses tonight. The Ottawa Senators have to put forth a better effort and grab some points.
Yeah, we need 2 points here, Ross. Even 1 point, there'd be something, but not quite enough here after losing that first game. 4-3, albeit not a blowout by any means, but certainly there's a couple players on the Sens that need to have a bit more of a bounce back performance, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this team matches up with the Tampa Bay Lightning with the Shane Pinto injury looming large.
Listening to the Lightning post-game press conferences, John Cooper said, earlier in the season, I sat up here and I kept saying just how hard it was for my team on the second half of back-to-back. Felt like we were always in that situation. So he was pretty transparent saying, look, we caught Ottawa in the second half back-to-back. We had to win that game, and it almost feels the opposite now. Ottawa's been sitting there resting, day off yesterday. You have the film now to know what Tampa's been doing. I just feel like Ottawa has to come out and look on the road, especially in a hard building like Amalie Arena. You're going to have to defend a little bit early. There's going to be that juice in the building and everybody's excited on the ice. They know what this game means, but Ottawa cannot be outshot 11-1 in the first 10 minutes of this game, Pilsy. How do you break down this strong offensive team and allow a little less early?
Yeah, the Tampa Bay Lightning got off to a huge start that game. And Ross, I mean, you've been to this arena, so you know the pregame ceremonies and entertainment is electric, pardon the pun. I mean,
it sounds like you're in like a beehive with that. They have the coils going.
Yeah, and you see the lightning, and like the music was insane, and like their jumbotron is ginormous. I was just sitting there like, this is a little much for me. Like I am overstimulated right now. So it gets the fans juiced up, and the Ottawa Senators just came out flat as we kind of expected. I think, Ross, they need to simplify their game to start off, because we were looking at the shot attempts for the Sens versus the Tampa Bay Lightning in last game, and it's clear that Tampa Bay was able to get a lot more pucks towards the net, and the Ottawa Senators, I wouldn't necessarily say it's kind of back to their old habits of pretty passes and things like that, but you just need to play a simplified game to start off against the Lightning, because they've got so many savvy vets. Their decor is full of long, rangy defensemen that make it difficult to go wide or to try to cut through the middle. So you just got to kind of put your head down, get a puck towards the net, and hope you can bury a rebound. I mean, look at that. That was the Michael Amadio goal on the power play, right? Like, just get the puck on net, dig away, and hope Vasilevsky has a quick mistake and then bury it.
And Vasilevsky did have a couple mistakes, made some huge saves as well. But like the Batherson goal at the end, I don't know if he was just unfocused after going up 2 goals, but that went right through his arm and his body. That one, if it just shows like Vasilevsky, he was the first star in the building with an .893 save percentage. Like, let's take it easy here, but I'm expecting him to be a bit better tonight. Bang away and get pucks funneled towards the net. I feel like Brady Tkachuk can make more of an impact on a game if his line mates are just feathering pucks towards the net. Get it? It's like almost in basketball. You got a great center. Take those 3-pointers, because you're going to get the offensive board and cause havoc in the paint. That's what life's like, having Brady Tkachuk in front of the net. And I don't know what happened on Tuesday. Let's flush it though, and I'm all over every Brady Tkachuk prop I can find again. I ate it on Tuesday.
I mean, he did have 5 shots, Ross. Did you have the shots?
But I did. So I did hit that. And you know what else? The only other thing I hit, Nikita Kucherov under 1.5 points. And that was a plus prop. That was a plus prop for him to get under 2 points. They held him to 1 goal. So that almost makes me worried, because how often does Kucherov go 2 straight games without kind of popping off offensively? But they held him to nothing at 5-on-5. Like, the top line didn't beat them. Is that good or bad? Does that make you worried because they're too good to be held off the score sheet for long? Or do you think that Sanderson and Zub have their number?
No, Ross, that was my key to victory, was shut down that top line of...
well, it didn't work.
Well, they scored on the power play.
But it was a key to a lot. Like, they shut them down and still lost.
By one goal. I mean, I guess it was a 4-2 game with getting that third goal. But
I mentioned to Jack, it's like there's nothing worse than you look at the score sheet after the game and it says game-winning goal next to an empty netter.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's not that great. But I mean, sure. And you do have a point. You're dunking on me. My key to victory, they got it, but they still lost. But they were right in that game for most of it. I'll stand by that. It's not like they let this game slip away from them or anything like that, and they were at a disadvantage. So I'm doubling down, Ross. Key to victory is try to shut down that top line again, and I think with a little extra legs, hopefully you don't lose a player in the first period, especially a key important center like Shane Pinto. Now, John Cooper would probably rebuttal, being like, we lost Nick Paul one shift in as well, so that kind of evened out there. But I do think that
exactly what he said, by the way.
Okay, well, see, that's what I'm saying.
And he was saying because Cirelli missed a bunch of the game too, but he was back in the middle of third period, but he missed a lot of it.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Yeah. Cirelli had a really good chance, breakaway opportunity where Ullmark made a big save. But yeah, I think if you can keep that top line, stifle them 5-on-5, like on the power play. I mean, there's only so much you can do, but it was Brandon Hagel and then Glenn Denning that beat you on other goals, other than obviously the McDonough empty netter. So stick to that, in my opinion. Yeah,
Cirelli mustn't have missed too much time though, because he still played 22 and a half minutes in the game. But the coach was very clear.
One shift then, if that.
Yeah, the coach was very clear that Cirelli missed time in this game.
That's funny. Wow.
We'll have to take his word for it. Yeah, I mean, he played 6 minutes in the second period, 8-11 in the third, and 8 minutes in the first. So, yeah, he missed a couple shifts. Easy, John Cooper.
Yeah,
the way John Cooper was talking, Cirelli was like playing with a broken leg. Like, John Cooper's a bit much. Great coach, but he's a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. Keep that in mind. And that's a way, especially a savvy coach like John Cooper, like, sometimes you got to use those media pressers to your advantage. Like Cirelli is probably hearing them. And he's like, oh man, he noticed that like I went to the room and then like came back and still played a lot, even though I did miss a bunch of time in the second period. Like, thanks, coach. Like,
he said
little
that
things like that you gotta give your cookies to your guys in the pressers.
Yeah, he said after the game, the boys were making me work tonight without Cirelli and Paul. It's like, buddy, you had Cirelli for 22 and a half minutes. That would have led all Sens forwards in ice time.
That's hilarious. Such a lawyer.
It wouldn't have actually. Timmy played 24-12 in that game.
Yeah, Timmy was out there a lot. I didn't love Timmy's game, but I give him a break because second half of back-to-back, and then you lose a center like Pinto. He had a lot of workload on his shoulders, and he was skating good. Like it wasn't a lack of effort. I'll say that for sure.
All right, so those are some adjustments that need to be made. We'll get into the game day preview next, and a part of that is what happens if Shane Pinto cannot play. Like the Tampa Bay Lightning have the Nick Paul situation. It's almost identical. And I had a YouTube comment say, why are you comparing Shane Pinto to Nick Paul? Because I did in the postgame as two guys who mean about the same to their teams. And I stand by that. I'm not saying stylistically they're the same player, but in terms of what they mean to their teams, penalty kill, power play, even strength, third line center, they're even in the same spot in the lineup. I do think it's a fair comparison to make in terms of if they're out, the teams have to make adjustments. And what will those be? Maybe 11-7, no Guy Boucher. That conversation's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Attending NFL playoff games is an unforgettable experience that brings fans together. And look, there's only one NFL playoff game left. It's Super Bowl 59. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. And it's not just sports, guys. You can check out comedy, music, and theater events as well. Check out Game Time Picks to filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you're not wasting time searching through thousands of tickets you don't even want. I use Game Time to get my seats at the Tampa Bay game, and you could too for tonight's Tampa Bay game. Run it back. Lots of Sens fans are going to both games, and I had people tell me at the game that they got both of their sets of tickets through Game Time. You can view from your seat on the app, and no surprise fees at checkout if you turn on your all-in pricing feature. That way, you know what the price is right off the top. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
All right, Pilsy, game day for the Ottawa Senators. It is a 7 o'clock puck drop. You will have the postcast with Jack Richardson following tonight's game. It's an important one for the Ottawa Senators in the standings. The Sens got a little help on the out-of-town scoreboard last night, although it's short-term help. Long-term, we'll see. But at least it didn't go into overtime between the New York Rangers and the Boston Bruins. Rangers have games in hand, whereas Boston has played more games. But if Boston had won, the Sens and Bruins would have been tied in points, whereas although they are kind of looming now with a 2-game win streak and 6 wins in their last 10, the Rangers now with 56 points after a third period comeback win, and they scored the game winner in regulation with 8 minutes left, shorthanded. So that was very nice. Shout out hashtag Sens Abroad, Mika Zibanejad, cross ice feed to Chris Kreider. It's the Outcast boys. I mean, every fan wanted those two guys traded, and they end up winning that game for them. So the Bruins lose in regulation. They're still at 60 points, tied with Tampa, of course, Ottawa at 62. If the Senators lose tonight, they will be back in the wild card. Tampa would take over third in the division based on points percentage. So, Pilsy, lots at stake tonight for the Sens.
Ross, just sticking with the out-of-town scoreboard, are we at a point now where we're judging Atlantic team wins and losses and points more than Metro ones just for wildcard standings? Or where are you at with that? Are you still kind of concerned with the wildcard spot, or are you locked on to the Atlantic division race?
I think both, but to answer your question, because the out-of-town scoreboard, the only other game that mattered was Montreal. I'm cheering against Montreal because I just don't like the Habs. I don't think that they're
you got that
in the
right
mix
now.
anymore.
There you go. Nice.
But everybody else in the Atlantic division, like last night, I was cheering for no overtime between the Bruins and Rangers, but then I was cheering for the Rangers because whoever's furthest back, I want them to win those games.
No, but that's what I mean. That was always how we looked at things. But now, are you also looking at like, hey, if it's a Metro team and they're maybe a bit closer, but they keep an Atlantic team down, maybe you like that more?
Yeah, so like Columbus, Tampa, for example, we'd be rooting for Columbus. Yeah. No, definitely, because there's an extra spot in the Atlantic that the Metro just can't have. So I'm excited for what's coming up, man. 28 games left, and hopefully somebody in the comments can let us know how many home games the Sens have, because my mathematics were very bad yesterday.
Should I take a crack at it, Ross? We'll both be egregiously wrong here.
Okay, so the Ottawa Senators are 16-7-2 at home.
I was kidding.
Oh.
It's not a good idea.
The Senators have played 25 home games, and you get 41 in a year. So 41 minus 25. The Sens have 16 home games left, okay?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
But don't ask me how many road games, because, oh, my God. 41 minus 29. Okay, the Sens have 16 home games left and 12 road games. That is confirmed. 28 games.
Boom. Did you use the calculator for that?
Yeah, I did twice. I got two tabs open.
Attaboy.
My tab 1, 41 minus 25. So I didn't even use a calculator. I went
Just
straight to
Googled
Google.
it.
Yeah. Google's never wrong. Come on.
Oh, man. This generation, eh? Unbelievable.
Oh, we're such dummies. But hey, we do it with a smile on our face. We appreciate everybody for riding with us day in, day out. Pillsy's got a flight in about an hour. This is a 7 a.m. recording for me here, and we are just loving every second of it because the Sens are playing meaningful games. We're looking at the friggin' standings instead of the tankathon. I mean, how great is that? We'll save the out-of-town scoreboard for tonight to the start of the third segment, but let's look at the Ottawa Senators lineup tonight, which will get us into another conversation. So actually, with that said, maybe we should do Tampa's lines first because that Sens lineup card will take us into 11-7, which we're going to save for the next segment. But we expect the Tampa Bay Lightning to remain the same. We've got Braden Point, top-line center with Jake Gensel and Nikita Kucherov. Anthony Cirelli between Brandon Hagel and Mikey Asimont. We've got question marks next to Nick Paul because the secrecy is apparent between the Sens and Lightning, not wanting to give anything away. But Nick Paul, question mark for tonight's game with Zemgus Girgensons and Gage Gonsalves on his wings. Luke Glendening, who scored a beauty in that game on Tuesday, between Mitchell Chafee and Cam Atkinson. On the back end, it's Victor Hedman with Darren Radish, Ryan McDonough with Eric Chernak, Lilleberg with Nick Perbix, and we expect Andre Vasilevsky to start in goal. Brandon Halverson was the backup. Pillsy, your lookout player to watch.
Well, Ross, we'll give this another try just because it's worked in the past. We would like to guarantee that Vasilevsky will play. There's no chance that Brandon Halverson, a goalie that has one game and not even a full game of NHL experience, will be starting. 6 years ago, will be starting this game. It is all but confirmed that John Cooper will go with Vasilevsky in this game.
You do know that Andre Vasilevsky's save percentage against Ottawa is the worst against any team in the National Hockey League. Yeah, and even last night, he was a career .891, and he had an .893 on Tuesday.
Yeah, the Vasilevsky's got a Senators problem. He can't handle it.
Only problem is he still has 11 wins in 18 games.
Yeah, oops. But anyways, my lookout player for this game is going to be number 38, Brandon Hagel. There was a surprising amount of Brandon Hagel jerseys in the arena, Ross. The Lightning fans really love him there, and he's really thrived in Tampa Bay since when he first got traded from Chicago. It didn't go well for him. After the deadline in 22 games, he only had 4 goals, 3 assists for 7 points. And then in the playoffs, 23 games, he only had 6 points. So I think maybe some Lightning's fans were at first glance like, wait, because didn't they give up 2 firsts for him or something?
2 firsts.
Yeah, 2 firsts. And they're like, this guy's getting single-digit points and is not really a big factor. But he just needed some time to settle in because then the next year he gets 30 goals. And then the year after that, 75 points. And then this year, he's sitting at 55 points in 52 games, 23 goals.
Brandon Hagel also netted Sens legend Boris Kachuk in that trade. So,
yeah, put some respect on that.
Whoa.
And he played 25 minutes last night, Ross. He had 4 shots on goal, finished as a +2. And yeah, I think you really have to respect his shot, especially with them loading up that top line. Brandon Hagel gets a lot of the looks on the second line, especially Cirelli's more of kind of like a two-way guy. And then Asimont is he's going to be doing whatever he can to get Hagel the puck. So I'm going to be looking out for number 38 in tonight's game.
Yeah, and just because I was curious, I went and saw the trade, and Tampa ended up flipping one of those picks to the Islanders. They used it for Cole Yzerman, and the other pick was for Oliver Moore. So they did give up quite a bit. To get Brandon Hagel. He scores the game winner. Or no, it doesn't end up being the game winner, but for all intents and purposes, it was what gave them the lead in the third period. He's also a greasy rat out there. He loves beaking and getting into it. Feels like he's always chirping with Brady Tkachuk. So that's a great lookout player, but I'm going right back to the top line. I'll go with Jake Gensel. He was pretty quiet in that first game, and I'm hoping for more of the same tonight, but it does scare me because I know the talent that he has, the shot, everything about his game screams that he's not going to be held off the score sheet for too long. The whole top line at 5-on-5 was held off the score sheet, and I'm trusting in Sanderson and Zub to shut it down in the defensive end at 5-on-5 because Point had that one great opportunity in the slot. And how about the 2-pad stack save from Jake Sanderson? That was unreal. Unreal play from Sandy. He had like 5 block shots in that game. He was an absolute horse on the back end. So they're going to need him if they want to beat this team. And you need to shut down. I was going to say a top 6, but I mean, Mikey Asimont doesn't really scare me. It's more Brandon Hagel and Anthony Cirelli that can do a lot of good things there on the ice. But that top line in particular, you put that head-to-head against almost any other line in the league. So we'll see how the Senators can defend that. I'll give a bonus lookout player to the D pair of McDonough and Chernak, who just shut down the Ottawa Senators offense in that game, man. You were there. Like, those are 2 enormous human beings.
They're huge. Yeah. And how about, speaking of shutting down, how about Highmore shutting down the opportunity for Chernak to beat the absolute wheels on him? Oh, man, that was classic because the Tampa Bay Lightning fans were all like, oh, come on. Obviously yelling obscenities, but basically calling him a chicken and saying, oh, you got to fight him. And they were pissed that Chernak gets the penalty. I was like, that is a smart business decision by Matthew Highmore. Like, you, as a guy that's finally getting to play a good stretch of games in the NHL, you're not about to get the wheels beaten off you from Chernak just to look like you're a tough guy. So smart play by Highmore there.
There's no need for that. And Highmore's been drawing a couple of those penalties, so hopefully he can keep that rolling.
He's a little greasy too. Yeah.
He is a little greasy. He and Crooker's got the same gene. They're just happy to get under your skin any way they can. On the other side, we'll look at the Ottawa Senators lineup, and does 11-7 make sense? Because calling up Stephen Halliday ain't so easy. It's still a possibility, but there will be some juggling. That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day. All right, Pillsy, game day for the Ottawa Senators. A reminder that the postcast will be live about 15 minutes after tonight's game. We are still waiting an update on Shane Pinto. I tweeted the Sens communications saying that Shane Pinto won't return to tonight's game. Just letting everyone know we're recording LOSP right now, so expect an update right when we finish. Murphy's Law there. We're not even sure if there's a morning skate today. I'd imagine so after a full day off yesterday. Yeah. So follow along on Twitter at Sens Central for the latest information in that one. Again, it's a 7 o'clock start, so a 10:15 postcast tonight will be available everywhere you get your podcast after the game. Let's look at the lines first, and then we'll discuss the possibility of the Senators using 7 defensemen in this game. The team started with Tim Stützle at center with Brady Tkachuk and Claude Giroux. Ridley Gregg between David Perron and Drake Batherson. Shane Pinto, ? Centering Cole Reinhardt and Michael Amadio. And then Zach Ostapchuk between Matthew Highmore and Adam Gaudette. Jake Sanderson on the back end with Artem Zub. Thomas Chabot with Nick Jensen, who we haven't added here, but was back for last night's game. And then this is me just, I guess, subconsciously just needing Nicholas Matinpalo to stay in the lineup. But we'll see what the Senators do, whether it's Clevin and Matinpalo or Clevin and Hamonic that round out this decor. I expect Linus Ullmark to start. Who knows? See how his back's feeling after coming back. Anton Forsberg, the other goaltender. Pillsy, what do you think of this lineup, and who's your locked-on player to watch?
As I mentioned yesterday's episode, Ross, Ullmark was really he was taking it easy before each draw, so I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not saying this is what I want, Sens fans, before everybody goes crazy on me on Twitter. I'm not saying this is what I want, but I would not be surprised if we saw Anton Forsberg get into this game.
Okay.
But I think that might be the smart play, because you can give Ullmark Florida. That's still a big game, obviously not as big as this game. And everybody that's been an Anton Forsberg hater, he's been good as of lately. So it's not like him starting is like, well, oh man, here we go. I think he still gives this team a chance to win. I'm going to be locked on, Ross, to number 19, Drake Batherson. He scored that goal late in the game, like we mentioned, but this is a guy that with some struggles down the center for depth, you need your wingers to pick up some of the slack. And I'm hoping that Batherson can obviously keep it going offensively, but we need to see more of that defensive-minded Batherson that we know and love from earlier in his career, and use that size. Like, Tampa's a big team, but Batherson's a big guy too, so I wouldn't mind seeing him be a little more physical. So I'm going to be locked on to Drake Batherson.
And finally, a goal that counted, right? He had the one against Nashville taken back. He had the one last game again taken back against Tampa. Now, that was goalie interference, so there's no way around that. So that was the appropriate call. Unfortunate as it was, would have given the Sens a lead late in the second period, if I'm not mistaken, on the timing of that one. So great locked-on player. I mean, I could go a bunch of different directions here. The decor and Jake Sanderson, just a treat to watch. He extended his point streak to 6 games. Tim Stützle extended his point streak to 6 games. Claude Giroux extended his point streak to 6 games. But I'm going to go with the guy who's gone from 0 to 4 points in a hurry, and that's David Perron. Really happy to see what he's been able to do. And I think that you're looking at a guy who, now that he's rolling, is going to keep it rolling as he gets his feet wet, and he's just throwing everything at the net. And we wanted more shot attempts, right, Pilsy? Well, he's a guy that's going to give you that every time he's on the ice. And I don't know who he's going to be playing with tonight. The Lions were so discombobulated last game at 5-on-5, so there's not really a whole lot to read into there. But I'm expecting David Perron to make an impact on this team night in and night out for the rest of the season. So to me, it starts tonight. How are you going to impact this game? And we'll find out soon. David Perron will be my locked-on player to watch.
Yeah, I like that. I do think that now he's kind of found himself and is back into the groove of things. And yeah, when he started coming back, Ross, we talked about it on our episode. We're like, the Sens need to get pucks on net. And his quote was, that's what I do. I'm going to shoot the puck. So, and he's had a couple goals and points where he's just throwing it on net and good things happen. So love that.
Yeah, -3 in last game, so we got to clean that up a little bit. But did have 2 shots and had an assist as well on the power play goal from Michael Amadio. So he'll be my locked-on player. I mean, low-key, Thomas Chabot had a great game too, not just the 2 assists, but I thought he was really good. The decor wasn't the problem. They just need to generate more high-danger chances. They only had 4 of them in that game. So let's see a little more high-danger shots on goal. Wouldn't mind. I know they're both playing left wing right now, but I wouldn't mind David Perron and Brady Tkachuk taking a few shifts together. Put Perron on the right side for those shifts, and he shoots the puck. Brady goes to the net, and away you go. Maybe even have Timmy there to open things up as the third member of that line. But if Shane Pinto can't play in tonight's game, Pilsy, and they don't make a call-up, they're going to have to go 11-7. There's no extra forwards on the trip. And the discussion we had yesterday, we've got some more information on it. Nick Cousins is not on LTIR, so he can be placed there. But because Stephen Halliday is making $925,000 against the cap, and Nick Cousins is at $800,000, and the Senators only have $100,000 in cap, not a math guy, but they would not be able to call up a player making more than $900K. So, not an option. Unless you're sending down Matin Paolo as well, right? You have an option to put him on waivers, but I think he would get claimed. He's playing too steady as a bottom pair guy. I think he'd get claimed. You don't want to risk it either if you don't have to. So if they go 11-7, what does that mean? Because I don't think that Travis Green has ever done it in Ottawa.
I don't think so either. Yeah, and that's just so crazy that putting an NHL player on LTIR doesn't give you enough space to bring up an AHL player with no NHL games played. Like, it's just wild. And I'm kind of surprised Nick Cousins isn't on LTIR. Like, the guy had surgery. I know there's the 10 games, 24 days thing, but he would have missed, 5 already now? No,
yeah,
more.
Easily. I don't know if there's cap benefits to keeping them off as long as possible or what. I don't know. I have no idea.
Someone smarter than us, let us know if you know
please.
What's going on with that. The cap is crazy. You have to be a John Cooper lawyer to understand that, or
Cap's
a mathematician. Anyways, 11-7. I think it's very possible, Ross, and probably likely. Like why would you go 11-6? Right?
Well, yeah.
But
well, you can move a defenseman up to forward if you wanted to get crazy. Where's Eric Brandstrom?
Yeah, hey, you missed that. I'm blanking on the word. What was the
Yo, you
term
want
I always-
shots on net? Maybe Hamonic, if he's 5 feet closer to the net, might not miss by a country mile.
Yeah, I don't know. Versatility. That's the word I was looking for. We missed that versatility from Brandy now, don't we? Yeah, I think they're going to go 11-7 here, Ross. It just makes sense. And
Or what if Shane Pinto plays?
you're really holding on to that. There's so little chance that he plays. I bet he's already been on a flight to Ottawa to go get his shoulder, arm, or whatever it is looked at. Which is
That's
really
tough before what I'd imagine would be a golf vacation next week.
big time. Yeah, that sucks.
That's tough. But hey, hopefully he's getting better because he was playing so well. That's why I'm holding out hope, buddy. I'm just holding just a little bit of hope.
Hey, I'm not holding it against you, Ross. I'm just trying to keep things realistic. I don't want you to be devastated when Pinto's not playing in tonight's game. Yeah, 11-7 probably going to happen. The only frustrating thing, Ross, is Matthew Powell is probably going to be utilized as that seventh rotating guy, where I think it would make more sense to have Matthew Powell with Clevin, get all the pairs how you like them, and mix in Hamonic for maybe a couple defensive zone draws here and there. But we all know that's not likely what's going to happen. One thing I want to talk about, Ross, and we didn't really talk about this at all. We had a couple people on YouTube bring it up. We didn't even consider and haven't considered the option of moving Giroux to center. Well, what do you think about that?
It's been 2.5 years and he's never played a game at center, and they've had issues with Norris and with Pinto. Like, he's just not going to play center. He's not going to do it.
Yeah, but it's just funny that's just like out of sight, out of mind, because he played a lot of center in Philly, did he not?
Yeah, he did. A ton.
Yeah, that's why he's so good at faceoffs. So it's funny that's just the way things are now. That it's just like, nope, he's a winger. We'll move other people around.
Yeah, I just don't see. I don't see it as a possibility at all.
Yeah. So all right.
Yeah, but it's fair to bring up because you see that his history is as centerman, but he hasn't played center in like 5 years, and I just don't see it as a possibility. And not only that, but like Tampa's got a lot of speed down the middle. I don't know if he's the guy right now that I would want playing center. I think what you're going to see is Ridley Gregg second line center, a Stapchuk at 3, and Adam Gaudette at 4. That's what I'm thinking, but we'll see.
Because maybe I would move Gaudette up to the third line. I feel like maybe that's a better spot for him than it is for a Stapchuk.
Yeah, well, based on last game, both of them played under 10 minutes, so they more so just relied heavily on Tim Stützle to play over 24 minutes, and they relied heavily on where's Ridley Gregg here? Played 18-22, so not even that. They really just double shift Timmy and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, Giroux played 22 minutes as well, but a lot of that at wing. The Sens didn't have a single line. So usually, let's just compare it to Tampa, right? Even though Tampa had some injury issues as well. Tampa's top line of Point, Gensel, and Kucherov played 8 minutes and 30 seconds together at 5-on-5. The Senators didn't have a single line play 4 minutes together.
Yeah, it was impossible to try to keep track of the lines at the game.
Yeah, so we'll see what tonight brings. I'm excited for this one. Any final thoughts from you on today's show, Pills?
Final thoughts for me is I'm excited to get back on the postcast. A little ironic that I'm in Tampa and I'm flying home when the team is still in Tampa and covering this team from the Blue Mountains, but it'll be good to get back in the mix for a postcast. So join us there after the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard tonight for the Ottawa Senators. 9 games in action and a couple that you do have cheering interest in. You're cheering for the Utah Hockey Club to beat the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight in Columbus. Columbus plus 130 at home. Interesting there. They're obviously dealing with some injuries, so hoping for a big win for the Utah Hockey Club. We're also cheering for the other new team in the NHL. The Seattle Kraken are at home to the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's a late game tonight. And the St. Louis Blues at home against the Florida Panthers. So not many wild card teams in action tonight. The Detroit Red Wings aren't playing. The Boston Bruins aren't playing. The New York Islanders aren't playing. The Rangers either. So it's really just Ottawa, Tampa, Columbus in action. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are 4 points up on the Ottawa Senators. So there is your cheering guide as an Ottawa Senators fan tonight.
Go Sens, go. Also, let's cheer for the Sens against the Lightning. How about that?
All right. I'm down with that. 7:00 start tonight. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and engaging with the show. It means a lot to us. Leave a comment below and give us a 5-star review wherever you get podcasts. And we will be back with the postcast after the game, and we'll wrap up the week and look ahead to the last weekend before the Four Nations tournament after tonight's game. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.